The all-new Fiat 124 Spider, finally now in our full driving review, and also the vintage version. And also the Abarth 124 Spider, the very powerful sports variant. That is all today on Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars with Thomas. We're going to have a lot of fun today, I can promise you, because there's a lot to compare between old and new, between sporty and standard version. A lot to show you, of course. And will this car be an emotional factor for the whole brand of Fiat? Let's look into that now in full HD, full screen and full length on Autogefühl. Let's go! Between 1966 and 85, about 200,000 of the Fiat 124, the original version, have been sold. And at that time it was a really trendy car and really had a lot of impact for the whole brand. And I want you to remember the front of this car, because we will see the resemblance to the new car. And the question is really, can the new car match this classic style of the old one and again boost the whole brand to say, hey, we can also do very cool cars, very fun cars. Let's start here now with the front, with the new model. And you see, really, the resemblance is the front grille. It has the same shape than the old model. Everything else is different. For example, also the headlights. Those ones are optionally available also in LED. And well, you have to know that this one here is kind of a sister model to the Mazda MX-5. It's also built in Japan, but it's fitted then with Fiat engines. That's very interesting. We're going to take a look at those ones in detail very soon as well, of course. But basically they share the basic platform then as well, which is not a bad thing. I will tell you later on why. So what do you think about the front? How do you like it in general? And how do you like it in comparison to the MX-5? That review you can also find on Autogefühl, of course. By the way, you hear a little bit of water in the background. That's a close by fountain, but it shall not disturb us from watching the old side profile. And that is pretty simple and also makes out the beauty of this car, because it's rather really a straight line. Nice detail, by the way. The side mirror is just attached here and it's just on one side. There's none on the other side. And you will see here they could really have created a resemblance to the new car. Especially pay attention to this form here, curving the rear shoulders. Now the side profile of the all-new car. I always say good automotive design is just consisting of very little design lines, just a few design lines, and the same is really here. We got just a straight design, and you see already that the hood is quite long, and it appears also a little bit longer than with the MX-5. Here now, what I've said, again, a quotation of the old car, and I really like that they use the citations of the past, that it forms the rear shoulders and right above the door handles. That's a really nice detail. By the way, as for the alloys, it starts with 16-inch on the standard version and the so-called lasso version, the higher trim level, which I would not go for. I will tell you later why. But on the outside it has 17-inch alloys, but you can also get it, of course, optionally for the basis version. And this is one of the few cars where I can do a very special thing already from the outside. Just the length to state for you, 4 meters 06 or 13 foot 3, so still a quite short car, but it appears longer, I can tell you, and I'm quite sure you're already seeing that on camera. The weight, central part 1,125 kilograms, that's nothing, and that already promises you a lot of fun. And this, now coming back to that, it's the only car where I can very fastly present to you how the car also looks with a closed roof, and I can just do it from the outside. I just have to fix it here in the inside, and it's really tight, and that's it. And this is really cool stuff, and it works even faster when you're sitting inside a car. But that's, you know, one special feature. It can't be any easier. It's the same with the Mazda MX-5. You don't need any electric stuff or whatever, and no hardtop. That's the solution, I think, for a convertible. Now take a full look here at the car. And by the way, here, the fuel cap is almost at the same side here, same part of the car than in the vintage car as well. And the rear of the vintage 124 Spider will be different with the new one, you'll soon see that. But remember that Fiat logo that is placed on the trunk or the boot, wherever you're coming from, of course. And I want to know your opinion in general about the vintage cars, because as for me, I really love them from the exterior, but I don't like driving them. There I'm a little bit lazy and trusting on new technologies, but from the outside, really love it. Hardly any resemblance here in the rear, but I really like the design because it's a very clean one. Also with those very wide drawn tail lights. And you see, there's no logo you can see here. It's again placed on top of the rear hood, as we've seen with the vintage car. Very interesting, definitely. And the whole car, maybe you've also seen it, 15 centimeters longer than an MX-5 altogether, because just of the overhangs here, kind of just on the outside parts they've used, but still remains basically the same car also as for the handling. I'll of course tell you more about that later on. And let's directly open the trunk. Relatively easy access because it has a wide opening. Of course there isn't too much space, but at least there's no hardtop blocking something. And well, it's really the question, how much is that, or with how many people are you traveling? Is it bigger than in the MX-5? Maybe just a little, and I can also get a suitcase that you can really see what fits in there. So let's see. First of all, one suitcase. Small one, you see, does fit like this, and also can be hidden in that gap here. And backpack above that. So if you pack cleverly, that works quite well. See, could be another one, maybe even a third one here. So, well, for two people, for a weekend, no problem. Maybe even for a week. Maybe there's fitting another suitcase above that, probably. But you see, you can use it even if it's not luxury in luggage. And now it gets really exciting what's underneath the hood here, because with the Mazda MX-5, they're using 1.5 and 2.0 liter naturally aspirated petrol engines, which is, in my opinion, a good choice. However, Fiat wanted to say, okay, we won't totally copy that car, we will put our own engines in. And here they set on a 1.4 liter turbo engine. So that's the main difference. 140 horsepower here, 7.5 seconds acceleration 0 to 100 kilometers an hour or 0 to 60 miles an hour. And that's approximately the figure you have with the 2 liter naturally aspirated engine from Mazda. The 1.5 from Mazda would be slower. And this one here is also available in the Abarth version, 170 horsepower, a little bit more even, and then the acceleration figures also below 7 seconds. Want to hear your opinion, which you would go for, turbo or naturally aspirated engine? The NAs, you know, it is being said, or quite often happens, that they are more durable. Turbo also has, you know, a little bit more torque, also from the lower RPMs. You don't have to push that engine so far. maybe you can drive it a little bit calmer. Of course, we will find out more about that later on, because I still very well remember driving the MX-5, and I'm also keen on which one, you know, is better to drive for me. Let's look forward to that. And when I close the bonnet again, that is also interesting. You know, some hoods, they close right at the end here at the front grille, but here it doesn't, and it has a reason, because, well, it doesn't look that well as for the gap here, but it saves you insurance costs, because when you have just a slight front crash, then you just have to replace this part and not the whole bonnet, and that saves costs also for the annual fees for your insurance. This is the key, but you can also use the keyless entry function here as well. Then let's get inside, and I will open the roof so that we can take a better look at the interior. And that again works very easy. So here inside, same as in the MX-5, and that also goes so far. Shall I try it the fast way? Yeah. Here, push it forward, and then this one lower, and that's it. Maybe I can be a little bit faster. Some more practice, and then it's maybe like 30 seconds. So just a great system, and it even works while driving. Well, maybe your co-driver also does it while driving, and it's even safer. But in general, and well, you can still do it here, like also from the driver position. When you do put your hand like this, moves up, and then like this. And it's closed again, and open. So wonderful solution. I also have praised that in the MX-5 already. As for the prices, by the way, 24,000 euros, taking German prices as a reference. Same also with the Mazda. And it was a standard version here. This one here, as I said earlier, is the so-called Lasso version. Then we have different seats. It starts with cloth seats. Really appreciate that, and I would go for the basis version. Then if you pick the higher trim level, then you get those seats we have here, and there, you know, there's real leather in it, but there are also faux leather parts. And what I would say, I'm not exactly sure, but I think so, that the interior part is real and the outer part is faux leather. I would appreciate if there's maybe a version with Alcantara on the inside. That would be great. But as you can also pick the cloth version, you will also be fine with that, because on those ones you will really sweat in summer times and it will be cold in winter times. And a detailed look into the interior, what you can see here also with the steering wheel and the overall style, also with the round vents. And you've also seen the seating style. This is really also Mazda MX-5, and I think that is not a bad choice. Why not? Working together, and the MX-5 is a good car, it's an approved car, and you know, this can really save a lot of costs for Fiat, and they still can offer a nice car, and also, you know, especially on the outside, have some differences. Because everything else here on the interior is quite familiar already, and let's also take a look into the details. But I can also get in again and see when the roof is open, there's no problem. But when you see when it would be closed, for tall people, is a problem. It does work when you're sitting inside then, and you can also adjust the seat, for example, the front part here, higher or lower. You can adjust the back part of the seat and, of course, move it to the front here manually into the back, but I just leave it all the way in the back then. And you see, it gets quite close with my with my legs, you can adjust the steering wheel area up and down. There's no moving it towards you or pushing it back. That's a little bit a pity. I would move it up that I have a little bit more space for my knees. And you see me as 1.86 m or 6'1", 6'2", between that. Yeah, it does work. It's a sporty position, of course. And well, the good thing is that those here, you know, the new convertibles, you can really afford them. And most of the other convertibles are just in the premium segment and they're really high in price. So I really appreciate that those ones here exist. Also, when you have the view to the front, you see the massive hood. That makes a sporty impression. I also like that as well. But you have to be sure, if you're above 190 meters, that will be really hard then. And let me just close the roof again. It's easy that as it goes so fast here. Just my headroom, and that's really, well, there is no headroom left. I don't do it well with my hairs. Maybe I touch the ceiling a little bit. It still works. To me, it works, but usually I would drive that one here open all the time anyway. But you shouldn't be above 190 meters, then I think you can sadly forget this car. If you're smaller, good advantage in this case, then you can be happy that you can get a cheaper convertible and still have a lot of sporty fun. There you can see what I mean, that you see the strong hood and also the beginning of the headlamps. It's, well, of course it's not a Porsche, but it's the same principle with the Porsche with the windshield car. You can see the beginning of the headlights already at the hood. That's really interesting. Generally, the cockpit, it looks quite clean and sporty. Horizontal lines here. Integrated infotainment system. We also know that software from Mazda, basically. The vents control kept pretty simple, and you know, that's also one scheme of that whole car. It's kept really simple, back to the basics, and that also has some advantages, of course. Seat heating is also available. We won't need it today. Manual gearbox. In the Abarth version you can also get the automatic gearbox, and you maybe hear that as well. Really sporty shifting, very short ways to reach all of the gears, and also a short stick, so good sporty atmosphere. Still manual handbrake, I like that. Of course for drifting, for example, most important part here. And then to control the infotainment system, we got this turning and pressing knob, but it's also possible to use the infotainment system via touch, so both ways are possible. Our storage space part is very short today. Here there's one small space for coins, whatever, the armrest. I really don't know what this should be. If you have any idea, put it in the comments. And then it's good that you can also close that one here. And you haven't maybe seen it at the first hand at the key, but this key here, you know, you don't see any key yet, but then you can remove that button here. And then you also have the key to be able to close this one. It's good, especially if you leave the car open, for example. Then there's reasonable space in here for some precious belongings. That one here was the button to, you know, higher the roof to begin the process. And see, inbuilt plastic wind deflector. There will be a lot of wind coming in the car, I can promise you already. And some more space in the front here, as well as next to USB ports to charge your phone, for example. And one more strange spot here. I'm not sure if a mobile phone should in there, but by the way, everything is it's quite easily processed, so there's really no high-class premium quality, but everything is solid, and that's important. It was the same with the MX-5, and of course you don't pay premium prices. Dashboard, that should be leatherette, and it's a little bit soft. That is well processed as well. Same here, that's also faux leather. Good that they use it here. And then, but here again, hard plastic just with a plain surface. Maybe they could have used faux leather here as well then. One more detailed look at the AC control. They've worked on that as well. So it feels also quite good. And again, kept pretty simple. The control stick for the multimedia system, turning and pressing to select something. going to home, GPS, shortcut, music, and here for your volume as well, but you can also control the volume at the steering wheel. And that's the infotainment system. For example, here you can change through those different apps. Let's take a look at the GPS. And I'm in general not that satisfied with the Mazda GPS system because it takes some, time to react here always, and there could also be a better visualization. You can also get this car without any GPS, and of course you can save money then. It works with the basic function, but it's definitely not my favorite. You can connect your phone via Bluetooth. That works like that. You press on connect, just go to the Bluetooth function of your smartphone, and then it works via those here. You also got some apps, for example a fuel economy motor here, and we will later on test how this engine performs as for the fuel economy. So let's go back again, maybe show you settings, how that one looks like. You got several options here, for example also on automatic mode, that the brightness is changing from day to night, or here for safety settings, obviously nothing in it. Sound settings, change the bass, for example. Yeah, way to go for the bass. And this one here also has the Bose audio system, that you can enjoy summer music. Maybe it's good to pick that option because the basic sound system is also very simple. And the instruments, very classic way, and big RPM meter in the middle part. Yeah, sporty way to go. Digital just on the left hand side, 22 degrees. Let's see if this consumption is really true. We'll find more about that one later. As I've said, we have nice parts of the interior and not so nice ones, but this one is again good. That is solid door handle, definitely, to open and close the door. And there's one very special button next to the steering wheel, the left one, to deactivate the electronic stability control. Then you can do things like these. What was missing? A look in the history. That's the interior of the vintage model. And wow, that's a difference. Especially the steering wheel, look at that. I like the style, and look how slim they are, and quite huge already. I mean, considering the, how slim it is, and real wood has been used. Everything is also reduced to the max to make it really just a sporty car. Manual handbrake here, and no head restraints on the top of the seats. Very interesting. And just let me get inside here. Well, to get inside is comparable to the old car, I must admit. Wow, really something very different. And I think there's a little bit more headspace in the vintage bike, but you also see that it's a little bit higher in general. The seats are very, very soft. It's really like grandma's sofa. And well, it feels a little bit more spacious, especially here in the middle tunnel area. Wow, hardly any visibility here to the front. It's really a strange feeling sitting in this car here. And the strange thing is really the steering wheel, because it's so slim, and of course it needs more power to turn, for example. Nice here with the benzina, with the fuel stuff, and also the tachometer. A lot of classic stuff to see. But as I said, if you have driven such vintage cars, they look very fascinating, but they're not easy to drive. You have to really work with the steering wheel, and that is a point where I do enjoy just modern cars as well. That's the way the car looks in black. This one here also has this special vintage style with vintage alloys, and this contrast here and here, especially to the black colors in the silver look. And also for additional luggage, we know that from old MX-5 cars, for example, as well, you can mount some more luggage on here. Not sure if it would be safe enough and also not protected against rain. But you've seen, you can have some luggage in there, so that I would leave it out because I think it looks a little bit strange, doesn't it? And another interior color, But this again, the leather equipment, the color is great, but you know, I would have wished more alternatives as for the surfaces, so I will still go with the basis cloth version. Welcome to the driving part. I think it was a good start. And that turbo engine also helped me to perform this acceleration here, 7.5 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers, I said earlier. And well, the thing is, what's the difference to the Mazda naturally aspirated engine? Well, I felt I didn't have to push this one so much. I didn't have to go into so high RPMs because the turbo is helping me. I think it's really a question of what do you like better? Are you more the turbo kind of guy, or do you like the naturally aspirated engines which you have to push a little bit more? As I said, the big naturally aspirated engine from the Mazda is the same acceleration figure, so it's not about the total speed, it's a little bit more about the characteristics, and of course, which engine concept do you trust more to live longer as well. Here, open top driving, of course, it's definitely a summer convertible at the moment, 22 degrees, 70 kilometers an hour, that's of course no problem. But when it's colder, it also gets cold here in this car, so it's not this all-season convertible like we had, you know, from other convertibles in the premium segment, like Audi A3 convertible, for example, where you can really block all the wind in. This one here is more the pure roadster feeling. You are still very connected to the road and also to everything that is outside of you. The steering here really reacts very well to my steering commands. It's very nice, direct steering. As for the suspension here in the normal version, Fiat 124 Spider, I feel it's a little bit softer than in the Mazda MX-5, so this one is also more for a little bit of a comfortable ride. Very interesting concept, and I think it also would be clever for people who say, oh, maybe the MX-5 is a little bit too stiff, too sporty for me. I can go for the Fiat. And of course the Abarth version, that one is a little bit different because then this one is again sportier and stiffer. So I think this one here has its unique point. Yeah, it's still you know, achievable car as for the price, but not, you know, that stiff and sporty that it gets uncomfortable, and I like that. I mean, the steering and the characteristic here is agile enough, and wow, it's really a go-kart feeling. You really feel how the whole car is moving, and with other cars with longer wheelbase, you kind of feel a delay between front and rear axle. Here, that's the best way to describe it. You feel that the whole car in itself is moving kind of at the same time. That's, you know, due to the very short wheelbase, and it's just super fun to ride. And of course, rear-wheel drive. Finally, again, a rear-wheel drive that accounts, of course, also for a very sporty ride. Overview is a little bit limited also to the roll bars behind me, so there again it's good to be a little bit taller then. Acceleration, see here, maybe let's go back to second gear and do some like 40 to 80, something like that. Let's go now. That was just 40 to 80, and I kept in the second gear. So you see, I can really, you know, be a little bit lazy with the shifting also. And I don't experience any big turbo lag. The turbo is right there. Also the sound is actually quite nice. Why not? For such a small engine, I think there's a reasonable sound. I usually more trust in naturally aspirated engine, also as for durability. But the turbo here, it feels more agile than the naturally aspirated engine. I have to say that. So it's always the question then, you know, what about durability versus driving fun? It's a really different concept. Those two companies are putting in this basically very same car here. So this one here, I can already tell you right now, it's one of those cars where you have, you know, a lot of fun, but not for so much money. That is one of the main aspects here, definitely. So that is one conclusion I can already tell you so far. The GPS, by the way, when I'm standing still, I can also use it with the touch. But as soon as I'm driving, it's not working anymore. That's maybe some safety precaution. Then I have to use the central stick in the middle. I think it's a wrong decision. I know what's basically behind it, but I'm not really sure if it's really good. Because, I mean, why shouldn't the co-driver use the touchscreen while driving? Why not? So, putting in the gears is a lot of fun, definitely, because you don't need long shifting ways. That's how, by the way, you go in a roundabout in France or Italy. In Germany, when you're like using a roundabout, how it should work, like everyone's like, oh, you don't leave 100 meters of space, you're an evil guy. But that's not how a roundabout is working. Sound? Why not for such a small engine? Yeah, the roundabout again in France and Italy just works because everyone is kind of adapting and just leaving small gaps. Again, in Germany, you have to leave so big gaps. Everyone is like moaning about, you're getting in there. So it doesn't really work that well in Germany, those roundabouts. Again, those agile rides is just so much fun. I love driving this car, even though I'm a little bit too tall for the car already, I think. So for longer trips that maybe wouldn't fit my back that well, but still, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, what about difference to the MX-5? Yeah, as I said, a little bit softer here as for the suspension. Turbo engine feels more explosive, feels a little bit more refined while driving. I don't have to push the engine that far. So from the driving aspect, the turbo is more fun. But again, from the durability aspect, I would more trust in the naturally aspirated engine. Yeah, by the way, here now you see how agile the car is. If I just decide to turn somewhere else, I really love that. So that is one big advantage of having such a small car. Here, by the way, uneven road. Still the comfort is quite good, and that's also one advantage, that the suspension is a little bit softer, because, I mean, how many times a day can you drive super sporty, and how many times a day it's more about driving comfortable, cruising here, enjoying nature. And then maybe the comfort setup is a little bit better. Maybe just one round here, one or two in the roundabout to have some fun. This is one car where you just tend to do some funny things here as well. Why not? Come on, guys. Accelerating out. And the engine is totally enough for the car. It's totally enough power. You don't need any more. It's not that much power that when you really hammer the throttle, that it immediately breaks out in the rear. Nice scenery here with the river. But that's also perfectly fine. I mean, maybe when the road is wet, then the car is maybe breaking out with the rear. That might happen. Other than that, I think it's a good balance of power, definitely. So I think besides that, it could be a little bit more suitable for tall people. It's just still a great concept, and I told you that with the MX-5 already. I love to see convertible cars on the road that you can, still buy for a reasonable price, and that already offer you a lot of driving fun. Because a lot of times also people ask me, hey Thomas, which car I should buy? And I ask, okay, convertible, closed, how big, price and stuff. And here that would be, one new competitor when someone says, I want to get a convertible, but don't, want to spend 100k or whatever. So really nice. And just when going straight, you always feel like I have to go I have to go in corners or like that. So it's really a great thing. So let's get an overview of the map here. By the way, it's also good to see while driving. That's good. Also, you can reach the temperature controls very well while driving. It's also no problem. Was the same with the MX-5. Running very calm in the city. Due to the turbo, I can, for example, also ride with 50 kilometers an hour and stay at below 2000 RPMs in the fourth gear. And still there's some acceleration possible also in the higher gears then. So that is theoretically also possible. Let's see. We can also reset our trip here with a button in the front. What about the consumption? Does it? I wonder why the consumption is not resetting. That's a little bit strange. It says 9.2 liters here as for the consumption. Yeah, it's about the small turbo engines. They're also not that good in the consumption. Then that's what I'm always saying. That it doesn't help you so much. Let's also check out the fuel economy monitor. This drive, 9 liters, 100 kilometers. Yeah, that is definitely better with the naturally aspirated engines. They use less fuel. One big advantage for the NA engines, Sauger, we would say in Germany, by the way, for the naturally aspirated engines. So here are the lights. Really enjoyable. And it's a perfect temperature here as well to drive the car, no question. 22 degrees, I like that temperature. Not too hot, not too warm, not too cold. But what I'm already feeling with those leather seats, really gets hot underneath you. So I prefer the cloth variant there. Also the seats are not that suitable for tall people. I feel like I'm a little bit oversized for the seats as well. I can even put that car here not only in 5th but also in the 6th gear. And then we're really running at low RPMs, 1500 RPMs now, just maybe just for the motorway that would be more suitable than with such low gears. Yeah, really great fun driving concept. That's the best thing I can tell you so far. Let's maybe see if we can find another fun road where we can show you some more cornering, as it's definitely worthwhile taking a shot. And I promised you something. What did I promise you? Yeah, I wanted to close the roof while driving without harming other people. And it's possible. Like this, and then like this. Oops. There we go. Still possible. You see, what happened is that the window moved down a little bit automatically. Then that's already it. So is also possible. Nice. And then we can also talk about sound insulation. Yeah, I mean, now of course it's a big difference from riding with the open top, of course. However, it's not, the most silent car. But you cannot expect that. It's rather a small car. Not so much money has went into the insulation. We're driving now 50 kilometers an hour. Of course, it will get louder when we drive faster. So you shouldn't expect too much as for this respect. But it's maybe also not the main thing of this car. This one here is the main thing. That is such fun to drive the car here. It's really great. And most of the times, I hope you'll drive with open top anyway, and then you won't have insulation discussions here. Well, at the moment, at the lower speeds, it's okay, but for longer Autobahn rides, maybe not the best suitable ones. Driving 17 now. I think it could also be worse, so that's still quite fine, I think. But driving with open top is always better. So maybe let's do that also while driving. And that's it already. Moving up the windows again. That's it. Just great concept. I love that. What do you think, guys? Here again, some agility testing. Here the tires. But you see, the car is tilting. And that doesn't happen so much with the MX-5. So a little bit different setup here they found. But I think it's a good setup if you not all the way want to go for the sporty ride, but want to have more cruising, more relaxing. And even if you want to stay with this very company here, there's also the Abarth version. Then again, you can have the sportier ride. So I think it's good that they have this wide span, you know, between the rather comfortable one and also the sporty one. Yeah, you see that, you know, those bumps we had on the road, that again is evened out better then. So I like it. What about you? So now the front of the Abarth 124 Spider. If you compare it to the Fiat variant, we have a stronger lower bumper here, and the car itself sits lower, also has a different sports suspension. We'll tell you more about that when we drive the car. And also here in this lounge edition we have this two-color scheme, black in the middle part and red on the outer part, so it's even a bigger differentiation. But I think if you ask the Abarth people, you can also get it just in a one-color scheme. And the special Scorpion logo, that one wants to tell us this is really a different car, they say. While in the Fiat we have silver contrast, here everything is kept in dark. You see the dark contrast here on the A-pillar and as well as on the mirror caps, and also the alloys. 17-inch you can also get for the Fiat, but here different style, also with the glossy finish and again a Scorpion logo on the inside. Another one right here with the Abarth. And we'll give you an exclusive interview with the Abarth CEO, the head of Abarth, later on in this review as well. And then we can also check out what about the production method, how much is really Italian, how much is Japanese. Really interesting interview, I can tell you. Side profile kept very simple, and again with this riding shoulder line. And I really like the design that it's really kept simple with a very few design lines. That makes the car also beautiful. And I mean, it's a small car, but due to the long hood, you see there very sporty proportions, definitely. And after 4 meters 06 or 13.3, the car ends here. And the big difference here with the Abarth version are the exhaust pipes. 4 pipes, and they are mounted in Italy at the Abarth workshop. This is one of the crucial parts here. And well, I think we should listen again to the sound. Beneath the hood, Mazda is using a naturally aspirated engine, Fiat and Abarth, the turbo, multi-air turbo, 1.4 liters of displacement. In the Fiat version, 140 horsepower and 7.5 seconds acceleration. Here 170 horsepower, 30 horsepower more, and 6.8 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour or 0 to 60 miles an hour. That's the strongest one you can get in this setup here, and what is special, this car is very light, just about 1,100 kilograms in weight. And other, more expensive cars, they have more horsepower, but they have also way more weight. And so this one here will give a distinct driving experience. We'll tell you more about that very soon. And the trunk, again, same as in the Fiat version. You see, there is possible to put some stuff in here. Surprisingly, it looks small at first, but you can handle it. And also where the Fiat logo is usually at, the special Abarth logo on top of the trunk. And you see this two-color scheme is even more aggressive when you have a white exterior. Then it's even a bigger contrast. Which one do you prefer? The car key, and you get a special Italia key support with that one and the Abarth logo. Let's get inside, and you get special sport seats with the Abarth version. So far it's just the genuine leather variant available. Well, I think as far as no genuine leather on the outside, inside and faux on the outside, I think there's no alternative yet, but I've talked to the Abarth head, and he said maybe there will be also other seats in the future available, maybe even more performance seats. Also the steering wheel is, for example, a little bit different than the one in the Fiat, has red contour stitches, and in general, it's, you know, has the Abarth logo and a little bit of a sportier style. Also sets the 12 o'clock position. And now what I really like, also we got some Alcantara elements here already. For example, here on the top of the dashboard, we got kind of a mix. This is great with the Alcantara, then again here's hard plastic, so here we got light and shadow in the interior. And by the way, here on the Abarth, that's a very important stuff. To deactivate the electronic stability control, I will show you the funny difference later. And I'll take a seat. It's not the best car for tall people. Me as 1.86 m or 6'1". It's still working, yes, especially with open top, but you know, you feel more comfortable if you're a little bit smaller. Steering wheel cannot be pulled towards you, just up and down, at least. And then very sporty driving position. You can see how they, you know, the forms of the headlights are in front of your side. That's very nice. And you more feel like in a go-kart, like you're sitting on the car, not in the car. And well, not a big difference from a Fiat version. Maybe you feel that it's a little bit lower. Interesting here, of course, again, that I don't even have to explain what that means. No electronics needed. That's just it. I think it's the best solution on the convertible market. So easy, really. And also interesting, and you can even do it while driving. Headspace. That's the headspace here in the car. Of course, same for the Abarth and the Fiat version. Getting practice here, don't I? Cockpit overview, everything is kept simple. We know a lot of elements from the Mazda MX-5 and also from the Fiat 124 Spider. Here the difference is that we got Alcantara on the horizontal part. I love it. It really feels so soft and great and adds to the sporty feeling. Also more red elements. At the steering wheel I showed you also the instruments we can soon take a detailed look to with red background. And more red contour stitches here. And this is very special. We picked this one, the auto gearbox, because you can get manual on the Abarth as well. But to show you also the difference from the Fiat, where it's not available, here you can also get the automatic gearbox, and I'm really looking forward to that. You also have shifting pedals available. Looking forward to the sporty experience. Also the cover of the armrest with a nice scorpion stamp. And Alcantara cover again, I love that. Small space below. And also a special plate here, Officina Abarth, Carlo Abarth, with, for example, you can put water in here as well, and also can close it if it's really necessary. And here you can change the vents as well. More storage space below there, and USB slots. Seat heating optionally, won't need it today at 24 degrees. The turning knob is the same than in the Fiat. Turn and press to choose something, and going home, nav, volume here. You can also do it at the steering wheel as well. infotainment system you can control with touch when you're standing still, for example, but you can always go for the middle control knob. As soon as you're driving, the touch function does not work anymore. I criticize that because maybe the co-driver wants to control the touchscreen while driving. The GPS, well, I'm not so satisfied with it. Could be more intuitive and also more responsive. Sometimes it takes a little bit too long, and also the visualization is not the most modern one. As for music, you just listen to the radio, or you can also connect your phone via Bluetooth right here. Let's see, if we go here to the communication, connect the Bluetooth, and then just hold your phone, connect the Bluetooth, and that's it. Pretty simple solution. And the special Abarth instruments, well, 16 liter and 100 kilometers, that's not a realistic value, that's racing value. In the Fiat we have used about 9 to 10 liters. Here it will more like 10 to 11, I think. So, and red background for the big RPM meter, we'll have that in action now. And I want to show you again, with the roof closed or opened, how the car looks like when it's closed. Also maybe with the windows closed, right here. There it is. And what do you think? I think still a beautiful line is being kept. And overall, this one here, the Fiat and the Abarth, they have the more elegant design than the Mazda. The Mazda has more a contemporary dynamic design. This one here, rather timeless. Or what's your opinion? And now look at the rear tires, because I want to show you when I have the electronic stability control set in. The power is controlled more. Yes, I need to have the seatbelt on. And so with the automatic gearbox, I cannot do it with a clutch. Therefore, I have to press the brakes a little bit and then hammer the throttle. Not that much, just about 2000 RPMs. Show you now with ESC in. See, a little bit of a wheel spin here on the slippery ground. And now with ESC off. Seeing the difference? There's more wheel spin, and that we can also use for fun driving, of course. Driving part. Abarth 124 Spider, 1.4 liter turbo petrol engine, 170 horsepower. And again, just to remember, 6.8 seconds acceleration, 0 to 100 kilometers. And already in normal driving mode, that was a motorcycle, already in the normal driving mode, we have a really a roaring sound. I can also go into a sport mode. Then we can even improve the driving characteristics. The car gets a little bit stiffer then. You can change it next to the automatic gearbox. For example, here now already the car is really stiff, also a little bit stiffer than the normal Fiat version. I have a less tilting of the car. And if I go into the sports mode, the suspension gets even a little bit stiffer. And that's the sport mode. Let's see again the difference. Normal mode. Yeah, already. So already in normal mode you get a great sound. Listen to that. So if you stand outside, you maybe think, is that really loud, that exhaust? So normal driving mode to sports mode. Also the throttle input is a little bit more extreme than, and especially here with the automatic gearbox, there's even a bigger difference. Because then the car is shifting back earlier and shifting up later. So that is the main difference, especially if they have the auto gearbox. Wow. It's really such a go-kart, this car. And suspension-wise, yeah, it's stiffer than Fiat, for example, and maybe also a little bit stiffer than the Mazda. But it's not uncomfortable. It's not like you say, oh, you're in such a sports car that is so extremely rough that it's only suitable for the racetrack. So here, for everyday driving, it's still okay. Listen to the sound. And I can also use the pedals here. Shift down or up. Nice. So that sport exhaust really has an effect. And you also feel that the car is so super light. That makes a big difference. So I would not have, just like to have more power, because then I would also have more weight. And as the weight is kept so low, I can really handle the car just like I want to. Wow, that is pure racing feeling. And without being in the very premium segment, of course. Shifting down. I like the auto gearbox as well. I mean, for a pure roadster feeling, you can also say, okay, you just go for the manual gearbox. That is still available here. The auto gearbox may be a good solution if you want to use the car in everyday driving as well. And, have a little bit more comfort in everyday driving with the auto gearbox and still be able to have some racing experience. So that's a good compromise, of course. Always extra in price. It's just more relaxed, especially when going uphill now. Then the auto gearbox is, it's just easier to drive, or maybe going slower than accelerating again. Then you don't have to use the clutch. Well, very narrow roads here now, but with a small car, it's no problem. It still feels very good, as the car is also, not that wide. So don't get nervous when driving this small cars. Direct steering as well, I really like that. So it's really totally a fun machine. Already the standard version of the Fiat 124 Spider is a lot of fun, definitely. This one here, especially if you want that sound. And of course, if you want a little bit stiffer riding, a little bit more direct contact to the road, then this one is really here for you. However, you also have to pay almost double the price, 24,000 euros, taking German price for a reference for the Fiat, 40k for this one here. Is it worth double the price? No. I can frankly say no, because the other one is already that much fun. Here is really if you want the sound experience. But you can, for example, also say maybe that the sound is maybe too annoying on the long-term run. That could also be. It's just a point of view if you really want that. Difference between normal mode and sport mode is not that huge. Now I'm driving into the normal mode again. Let's see how that performs. Yeah, throttle input is a little bit later then. A little bit more calm to drive, especially when going downhill now, for example. Then now you can hardly hear the engine, so it doesn't have a big sound in the neutral, just when you hammer the throttle, because there are those valves opening then. Now let's go a little bit uphill again with the normal one, and let's go just from standstill, hammer the throttle in normal mode, and then in sport mode to comparison. Let's see, there's no one coming, no, there's no one coming. That's normal mode. And that was 70, for example, now. And now, if I go to the sport mode, you might hear the difference, and let's go now. And 70. So the main difference you heard also when we were shifting, it's harder shifting transition. That is interesting as well. As for the ESC, I can also deactivate the electronic stability control. Then we have more play with the rear wheels. As usually you don't have wheel spin when you're just on dry road, and not, if you're ESC activated, you can control the car better. When you have the ESC off, you can play around with the car a little bit more, of course. Let's now hunt those corners. Yeah, feels a little bit more loose in the rear end. On dry road you can do that, but usually when you're on public roads, I can just recommend you leave the ESC in and reserve that for the racetrack, as you also need some practice to do that, of course. really nice. You see, I think you can already see on camera how great the handling is with that light car. So much fun. And as I said, you can give me more horsepower, but it may not be more fun. Wow. You might think there's a Ferrari coming or so, and if you would tell someone, oh, it's a 1.4 liter turbo engine, it was like, what? No way. So really interesting, that aspect, definitely. We can also do some, when we got some straight partiers, sport mode, and then, as we don't have a clutch, I stay with the right foot on the brake and let the car, preload a little bit, and then we have even better acceleration. Wait up. Was that smoke coming from us? Wasn't me. Wasn't me. It's not on camera, I hope. Is it on camera? Wasn't me. Yeah, that's really amazing what things you can do with that car here. Sport mode and ESC off. You can, even with the automatic gearbox, do some burnout stuff. So a lot of crazy things you can do with this fun car. And that's also a reason, for example, why there's in Germany big MX-5 Mazda drivers scene who used this car for hobby races. Maybe that will also now account for the Abarth here, that this one is used also for hobby races. I'm pretty sure that will work. I mean, look at that. I would love to transport a G-Force directly into your living room screen. It's such a great road here, near Lago di Garda, one of my favorite spots. I can just do that forever. I hope you as well. I think I never had fun with a 1.4 liter turbo to that extent. Did you? Put me that one in the comments then. Wow, and it plop in the sport mode from the exhaust. Just enjoy it here with me. And now more information with Paulo Gallardo, the head of Abarth, and he is obviously the man to give us detailed information on this car and especially about the philosophy. Because, some people said, you get a Japanese car, it's not a true Abarth. So what are you saying to these?
Those people who say that are wrong. It's a complete Abarth project. Basically, we built the car to our own specifications, and therefore you have a true Abarth in the sense of performance feel, handling, power, acceleration, and everything that makes a car truly fun. So if you want to drive something particularly exhilarating, adrenalinic, and unique, I would say definitely consider this car. And then don't trust my words, but actually try it, and then we'll have the discussion afterwards.
You see, it's very good in advertising the car. So how does it really work, the production process, and how does it work? Where and when does a car come to your workshop, and how many stuff can you do on your own, and what are the special parts you do work on in your workshop?
Well, basically the parts are all Abarth, in a sense. The powertrain, of course, the style, but the powertrain is an Abarth, the suspension is Abarth, the handling is Abarth. So again, the original platform, of course, is the most perfect platform of a roadster today in the market. So of course we are starting from a excellent, outstanding base. But then again, when you build a project like this, you build from a product briefing with very set specifications, and in our case the specifications are almost all based on performance. So all the parts of the car that relate to performance are faithful to the standards and the briefing that we did. We worked together with the engineers that provided us the base of the car, and at the end of the day we are having a product that is completely consistent with our values, our fun to drive values. Then all this year we'll produce 2,500 of these cars. They're going to be all numbered, and availability, you can order them now, but the availability starts from between September and October, and it's only 2,500 units, all numbered, and they're all going to pass through Officine Abarth, which are in Turin, and there we're going to Abarthize them in order to make them exactly what you see.
So especially the exhaust,
all the things. We touch basically all components of the cars, and we make sure that we transform what's already, let's say, like 70% of a car into the Abarth that you see.
So that's the basic difference then. The Fiat engines are shipped over to Japan, cars built there for the Fiat version. Then it's kind of done when it arrives in Italy. The Abarth version is then as I said, Abarthized, so that's the basic difference here from the Abarth to the Fiat version then.
But even on the Fiat, you're paying too much attention to the base project. In reality, both Fiat and Abarth are completely different units than the base platform, because we touched all the key items of the car itself. So I would say that Fiat is an Italian car altogether, and Abarth is a true Abarth. It is actually common in the market to get, especially for a roadster, something particular and then make it become the thing that you want, and this is exactly what we did. So there is very little Japanese, as you say, in this car as it is today. And again, don't trust my words, but even if you try either a Fiat or an Abarth itself, totally different philosophy, totally different products. I mean, you can see it obviously from the style, but the heart of a car, which is a powertrain, is completely Italian, and all the rest, all the again, handling, suspensions, performance field, and so on, is completely, in our case, it's an Abarth, but even in the Fiat case, it's a Fiat.
When we take a look at other cars on the market, also, maybe the German brands, what is the most unique thing? Because there are other cars with a lot of power, there are other cars with good handling. What is the most unique thing about the Abarth outstanding in the market?
This is a completely unique experience. It's a very emotional experience because this car has a weight to power ratio which it's again unique. So you have the right engine, the right power, and the weight perfectly balanced at 50% and 50% with the driver's on. That makes the handling and the performance of these cars a unique experience, even when you compare it with much more expensive roadsters. So
because you never get the same weight, because all of the other, for example, the German premium manufacturers, they are all way heavier, the cars.
Yes, I mean, they are all excellent competition, but we do believe that we've done something really special and outstanding here. So even if you should get a better or slightly better weight to power ratio by putting a huge engine on the car, you won't get the same performance feel and handling of this one here. Now on the back you hear the growl of the car, and again, this is a very unique activity.
So what about, did you say it was limited in numbers, or what's the future for this car?
No, okay, this year is going to be limited in numbers because we are going to build these 2500s. Next year we'll see. I mean, let's see how the market goes, and but we are very confident. We plan to do very well in the market. I mean, if with programs like yours, we are able to convey that kind of passion and emotion that we put in the car, you're going to have an outstanding experience, I promise you. Don't trust me, go to the dealer and test it.
So, thank you very much for this emozioni.
You're very welcome.
And let's continue here with our review.
Thank you very much.
And that's it, our final conclusion now. Fiat 124 Spider or Abarth 124 Spider. Scende 24. I hope that's somehow right. My Italian is not the best, but mille grazie for watching Autogefühl this episode here. So overall, a really great fun car. So can have a lot of fun for already not so much money. And that would also be my tip. Go for the Fiat, the basis version. Put the cloth seats inside, don't pay anything extra, then you have a very good price and already can get maximum fun from minimum money. And that's also what this car is about. It's getting it, in a pure style. I think the design is great. It's, for decades now, I think the most beautiful Fiat. And to me, really, at the moment, it's the best Fiat you can buy. With this long hood, a classic, elegant design with quotations from the past, as we've shown you with the vintage model. I think that was really working very well. Only thing is, well, if you're really tall and then do long trips, that could be a problem. But as long as you're already a little bit smaller than me, then it's no problem at all. Then it's already very good. Good roof system, very easy just. Interior build quality, we have some good parts, some not that good parts, but overall fitting for the price segment definitely. And I love really that we finally get convertibles again, which are not only in the premium segment. Driving really an agile car, a little bit softer here than the MX-5, I felt it, but I think that's good for the everyday driving. Then the Abarth version. The price, well, the price is justified on the one hand, because they're taking really hands on the car here in Italy again, and you get, of course, a lot more stuff, different styling, different exhaust. To me, the exhaust sound would be like a little bit too much for everyday driving. It's nice to hear, it's spectacular, but for everyday driving, I would rather prefer the more, elegant, calm way. The sportiness, of course, it's stiffer here, especially in the sport mode. You got a little bit more performance from the engine. But I think the difference is not that huge as for the performance, because that one can also be pushed far already. Then turbo concept, well, the head of Abarth, he told me, this is a bulletproof, that engine. We are using this engine for racing, and there it makes us no problems. So you have to think about naturally aspirated engine with the Mazda or the turbo here with the Fiat. In driving, the turbo feels better, more explosive. But we have to see how it behaves with the long-term durability. Of course, this one here, the more spectacular version, and I would like to see more Alcantara on the inside here as well. Now I want to hear your opinion. Which one would you go for? Which color? What do you think about the exterior? And what do you think about the comparison Mazda MX-5 to the Fiat 124 Spider? And overall, what do you think about the project? I think with these cars here, Fiat or also Abarth is back in the game. Thank you very much for watching Autogefühl with Thomas. I'm very sure we'll see each other at the next Autogefühl episode.